Welcome, everyone. My name's Linda Kligman. I'm the IIRP's president, and it's an honor to welcome you here to Bethlehem. IIRP is a young school, and we are here in Bethlehem, the land of the Lenape people. So we want to honor those that came before us, as well as the Lenape Nation of Pennsylvania that still lives here today. Like the Lenape people, as restorative practitioners, we experience the power that comes from within talking circles, creating a community of learners, and sharing stories and experiences. We must because we all share a future. So I want to acknowledge we are guests on their land, our journeys forever entwined. Please be seated. And I would really like to welcome our graduates. Today's your day, and I'm so happy to see you and your families here. And I also want to introduce a few guests of honor who are here today. So please stand when I call your name. Our founder, Ted Wachtel, please stand. Thank you. Behind me, Dr. Patience Whitworth, Secretary of the IIRP Board of Trustees, for standing. Our Provost, Dr. Craig Adamson. Paul Leese, our Vice President for Strategy and Communications. And then we have lots of faculty here. You can all please stay standing when I say your name. Dr. Frida Rundell, Elizabeth Small, Dean Mary Jo Hebling, Dr. Gina Abrams, Dr. Fernanda Fonseca Rosenblatt, Dr. Michael D'Antonio, Pam Thompson, Kevin Jones, our librarian Zoe Modig, and we also have lots of other great staff here today. If you would also please stand. Thank you all. Now you may all be seated. Thank you. So Rumi wrote, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself." The world certainly is in need of changing, but meaningful, positive change only comes when people are willing to do the work themselves. When that occurs, change begins to ripple outward and can help inspire cultural shifts for more inclusion, more compassion, and a willingness to challenge the status quo, and a movement towards justice and better practices. So today we're here to honor changemakers, our IIRP graduates from the fall of 2022 and the spring of 2023. You've devoted yourselves to learning and growing so that you can create change and so that we and the generations that follow might have a better future where all people are valued. You dared to change the world by starting with yourselves and then learning how to widen your circles to empower those around you. So take a moment, there are lots of smiling faces around you, and notice all that. You've inspired those changes starting here with your children, your husbands, your wives, your partners, your parents, your families, and your friends. All helped you make it to this moment, and I extend my thanks to all of you for all of the support you provided to your loved ones to bring them here today, and we're glad you're here. So next, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Patience Whitworth. If you could come to the podium next.
Thank you, President Kligman. I am so excited to be with you today to participate in this commencement celebration. Commencement is one of my favorite rituals in education. As President Kligman pointed out, it's a celebration of the incredible work of our graduates and the support of their families and friends. And I must admit, I'm a sucker for the regalia that Craig's going to talk about a little bit later. It's an honor to serve on the Board of Trustees of the International Institute of Restorative Practices. This graduate school's missions, work, and scholarship is exactly what the world needs at this time. And I stand here today looking at the graduates. I'm looking at the future of the field of restorative practices. To the graduates, I'm grateful for your scholarship, for your thoughtfulness, and your many contributions to our restorative communities. I cannot wait to witness the next chapter of our collective work. President Kligman, can I turn it back to you to continue the celebration?
And I would like to introduce our Provost, Dr. Craig Adamson, next.
Good afternoon. Congrats, class of 2023. Big round of applause. So proud of them. So as provost, one of the choices that I get to make is what I can teach as well. So I co-teach one of the final courses, the capstone course, which is all the graduates go through and write phenomenal papers and videos. Maybe you saw some of those. But part of that process that I love is that I really get to know the students individually, really better understand what they're passionate about and what they want to write about. And I get the distinct pleasure, and I think it's an honor and a privilege that I get to meet students like all of you. But a special note today is that we get to hear from our student speaker, who is Kiana. So, Kiana, will you join me up on stage?
Good morning, President Linda Kligman, Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, family, and friends. If you would oblige me this morning, look at your neighbor and say, Ubuntu. Now, for those of you who don't know what you just said, and you're probably like, what's happening here? Thank you for saying it just to be kind, but Ubuntu is Zulu for humanity and can be translated in other things in regards to respect and unity. But for today, it is I am because we are. So now look back at that same neighbor and now say, Ubuntu. Yeah, you sound like you knew what you were saying that time. I thought it was appropriate to start my speech with that because I am because of all of you. Throughout my speech, I will say Ubuntu, and I would love if you could repeat it so that it vibrates throughout this room, this city, this state, this region, this country, and this world. Ubuntu. It is a pleasure to be the 2023 graduate speaker. 20 years ago, I graduated high school and went on to be a first-generation college student who had no idea who she was. Here I am at the Bethlehem Steel Stacks, where we are surrounded by great history. Much of the steel made here in Bethlehem became a part of some of our nation's famous landmarks, such as the Golden State Bridge in San Francisco, the George Washington Bridge in New York City, the Empire State Building, and Madison Square Garden. The steel was made and cultivated here and used to support and uphold structures all across the country, influencing skyscrapers and automobiles. Much like that steel, we, the graduates for the International Institute for Restorative Practice, we have been placed in a blast furnace by our experiences. We have been cultivated here by the faculty and staff. We have been mixed with other people's perspectives, ideas, and research, and at a high temperature, we have been molded and grown into practitioners. And just when we thought the process was over, our capstone paper would challenge us even the more. But it was then that our true practice began to surface, making us take a deeper look at our time management, at our own biases, the authenticity of our research, our fears and inadequacies, until finally we rolled out as beautiful, strong graduates. This graduate program prepared us to interrupt old systems in new ways and present what our former president, IIRP, John Bailey, calls the science of human dignity, and to do what now Linda, current president of IIRP, calls widening the circle to create intentional reciprocity, Ubuntu. Education is essential, but the one thing that restorative practice has taught me is me. Brené Brown said, "What we know matters, but who we are matters more." As we walk out restorative practice and use the continuum to do, as my colleague Beth Small would say, walk to with, I challenge us to consider the walk to with begins within. Who you are matters, but who are you? Beyond this degree, beyond the job, beyond the title, and beyond the practice, who are you? Who you are has a history. You didn't get here alone. My grandmother, Rachel, grew up on a sugarcane plantation and only had a 6th grade education because she needed to pick sugarcane to help her family. She struggled to read, so she had me, the eldest grandchild, read the Bible for her. She taught me the power of studying to show myself approved. My mother, Jeanette, was a restorative practitioner before I knew it was a practice. Instead of calling the police on the young men who hung out on the corner in front of our house, growing up, she fed them, she prayed for them, she mothered them, and held one of them in her arms as he took his last breath from a gunshot wound. She was an example of doing things with people. She taught me the power of love. Great Booker T. Washington, founder of Tuskegee University, once said, "Success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life, as by the obstacles which he has overcome while trying to succeed." Well, at 14 years old, my mother became incredibly ill having my baby brother. While she was in the hospital, I caught 2 buses, one to drop my brother off at school at my grandmother's house and the other to get to school. I channeled my pain onto the stage where I thrived as a young artist. I went on to receive the Governor's Award in the Arts and the Star Ledger Scholarship. For my 18th birthday, I visited a prison. I had a quick glimpse of a system designed to repress, then to suggest that people are anything other than worthless. I was visiting my father. I would never mention this to people because I didn't want them to stigmatize him or stereotype me, but I learned to develop empathy for children whose parents had been incarcerated. And at a young age, I learned to separate the deed from the doer. At 20, I became aware of mental health and realized that I had been struggling with anxiety. At that time, no one was talking about mental health, so I watched myself and others suffer in silence, afraid that people would invalidate our feelings and experiences. So desperate to not live in shame, I reached out and found support. I created a sticky note movement with affirmations, scriptures, and declarations that took over my mirrors and walls. I went on to write, direct, and produce restorative theater to help others find their brave space on stage. At 23, I became pregnant. My senior year at Howard University. Shame told me to attack self and withdraw and drop out. But the love of a mother, an amazing partner, and a village of sister friends and professors, they encouraged me to put on a dance leotard every Tuesday and Thursday and finish out my dance requirement at Howard University. I danced my heart out at 8 months pregnant during my dance recital. I birthed a baby boy on May 3rd and walked across the stage and graduated May 10th. At 31, I suffered a complicated migraine which looks and mimics a stroke. This led to a series of seizures that left me in the ICU for several days and causing temporary memory loss. I went from a wheelchair to a walker to hope rising and stepping out on faith and working in higher education where I was exposed to some amazing women of color who encouraged me to start the Destiny Women of Color organization founded at Muhlenberg College to help other young women of color find their voice and their authenticity. When I was 34, my mother unexpectedly died at 54 in a hospital in Atlanta during the pandemic. Reluctantly, but with some guidance from an amazing man, Henry, and my colleague, Beth, I started graduate school, and it turned out to be the best experience of my life. Dr. Frida Rundell's Sunday Compassionate Listening Circle gave me permission to heal. At 35, I started in an inaugural role as coordinator of diversity, equity, and inclusion in a rural Virginia school district where differences became the backdrop for racism, microaggressions, and hate. Board meetings became a place where breathing techniques to remain calm was my only focus as people yelled absurd things about me for nearly an hour. Escorted in and out of the back door of the sheriff's office, I got in my car crying the whole way, begging God to not let me return hate for hate. Marian Anderson once said, "Prayers begin when human capacity ends." And it did. And soon, in the midst of what was meant to break me, I thrived. The students I worked with, they thrived. And I went on to create the Summer Emerging Leaders Junior program based on the Circle of Courage, And there, for the first time, we had 98% attendance rate and 0 discipline. At 36, I learned restorative practice, restorative self-practice. I found me. After looking for so long, there I was hiding under, am I good enough, or who would want to listen to me if I'm not on stage performing? There I was, a restorative practitioner, and now I'm the first in my family to hold a master's degree, but not the last. Ubuntu. I am because so many of you are. In this room sits mentors, colleagues, classmates, family, and friends, but also in this room somewhere, you can't see her, but it's my mother's spirit, who laid down something in her death so that I could pick it up and run with it. Hey girl, I see you. In this room is my legacy. Jaquan, Messiah, James III, Elijah, Savannah Grace, and a miracle. I pour out everything so that you can go and live your wildest dreams. To all my family and friends, thank you for believing in me at every stage of life. Somewhere in this room is love. It has been patient, kind, it didn't envy, it didn't boast, and it wasn't proud. It wasn't self-seeking. The love of God and the love of my husband, my best friend, and the lover of my soul. Your love bared all things. Your love believed all things. Your love hoped for all things, James. Your love endured all things, and your love never ends. Thank you. But I am not the only one who experienced love to finish this degree. You all have experienced love too. Your sons, your daughters, your family, some in this room and some not. And some of you experience your own self-love to help us finish what we started. Peter Blackwell writes, "We are a community of possibilities, not a community of problems. Community exists for the sake of belonging and takes its identity with the gifts, generosity, and accountability of its citizens. It is not defined by fears, its isolation, or its penchant for retribution." So, class of 2023, I challenge you to create those communities of possibilities and not problems. I challenge you to build in places where they will tell you it is impossible. I challenge you to be quick to think, slow to speak, and even slower to anger. I challenge you to walk to with and start interpersonally so that your interpersonal relationships are strong and then your community circles sustain, nurture, and restore. I challenge you to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. I challenge you to start and end every meeting with a check-in and a check-out, until it is the norm, even when you are not in that room. I challenge you to sit in a circle, have empathy, listen, share your story, and sit in discomfort so that you can truly see humanity. After over 125 years, we now all understand the significance of the steel once made in this place. The question is, in 5 months, 5 years, 50 years, or 100 years from now, class of 2023, what will be our legacy? What will people say? Will they say, "I am because you were"? I leave you with this quote by dance legend Katherine Dunham. "I used to want the words 'she tried' on my tombstone. Now I want 'she did' Ubuntu."
Powerful. Thank you, Kiana. It was amazing. I told you I had the best job, right? Huh? I also have the best job because of the faculty here. Our faculty is amazing and are really dedicated to our students. And so today, when we have a reception, I invite all of you to come and meet and talk. We even had Fernanda flew in from Brazil last night. So we do so much online, but I invite everybody to get connected and learn a little bit more about us. So what would commencement be without some academic giving a little bit of history, right? So, okay. So a few words about the hooding ceremony that we're going to move into in a moment, and its significance. So our hoods have two colors to them, citron and blue. So you'll see the graduates in a couple moments putting them on. And the citron represents social services within the degree, and the blue is our school color. So you see us in all our different colors and things from our schools. The wearing of distinctive regalia for universities consisted of a cap and gown and hood that began in England, there in the second half of the 14th century. The statutes of certain colleges prescribed the wearing of long gown by faculty and students every day, their daily attire. It came to the U.S. Somewhere around 1886 through King's College, which is now Columbia University. Yale and Harvard faculty were required to wear academic dress in their daily attire all the way up to the early 1900s. So fast forward to today, the hooding ceremony at the IIRP signifies a scholarly and personal achievement. Myself, as the chief academic officer, placed the hood on the student, which signifies the passage from student to master. Among the first to recognize this rite of passage is the president of the institution, Dr. Linda Kligman. Dr. Kligman and Dr. Whitworth, please join me at the podium. We will now begin the conferral of degrees. Dr. Whitworth, you may begin the ceremony.
It's all out already. Greg, can I have your script? Here we go. We got it now. Back on track. Everything's going to be fine. All right. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in 2006 granted to the Board of the International Institute of Restorative Practices the right to operate as an authorized and recognized graduate school and to confer Masters of Science degrees. We have entrusted this duty and honor to our president, her administration, and our faculty.
So will the candidates for the degree of Masters of Science in Restorative Practices please rise? By the virtue of the authority vested in our Board of Trustees, by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and upon the unanimous recommendation of all of our faculty, I confer upon you the degree you have earned with all the rights and responsibilities thereto. So Beth, will you please come up? So Beth will be announcing your names, and then you're going to move to Craig for the hooding, and I'll hand you your diploma. And you can go off the stage for a photograph, okay? Okay.
Miranda Ashley Cloutier.
So this is a good photo op opportunity.
Marianne Conti. Kiana Cox-Jones. Karen Kreiderman. Lisa Ann Dalrymple. Mackenzie Jeanette Demir. Bobby Marie Downs. Norma Jean Dwyer, who is the Sean Such Scholarship recipient. Stephen Fideldi. Ariana Marie Giroli. Courtney Benson Gilmore. Mary Jean Glick. Trio Harris. Marsha L. Hawthorne Bonds. Livia K. Kleino. Bradley Langston. Tamara D. McCord. Karen E. McCormick. Elise M. Patterson. Carol Louise Penner. Jenna Elizabeth Plump. Dennis O. Poirier III. Rochelle L. Pride, who is our Impact Scholarship recipient. Jennifer Reed Larkin. Abigail A. Rendon. Anthony C. Rush. Sarah Schmidt. Tanya L. Schofling. Elizabeth Sophie. Tyler Stroh.
How about that, huh?
Great. Good job.
Martha Elizabeth Tolkamp. Erica Trini. Amanda K. Wadle. Alyssa K. West. Benny Lee Williams, Jr. And Susan Wolber.
Let's give a last round of applause to our graduates. And please be seated. Yeah, please be seated. Thank you. So thank you all for joining our 16th commencement. I invite you all to join our newest alumni downstairs in the blast furnace room. It's on the second floor. And a special, special thank you to the Fairmount String Quartet and Joseph Piccone taking photographs, the staff at ArtsQuest who's been wonderful, and especially to our IIRP team, Kristen Weber, Melissa Ash, Nikki Chambly, Kelsey Elder, Laura Housley, Whitney Howarth, Martha Kelman, Paul Leese, Pat Lewis, Fernanda Rosenblatt, Monique Zimbergetti, Ken Tompe, Jody Weaver, and Dana Yurgowski. You're all wonderful, so thank you for making this happen. And you can please rise for the procession, and the proceedings are now closed. Thank you.